Mayor Sullivan, board members, honored guests, fellow Americans. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you today on this solemn occasion. 48 years ago this month, on the 4th of May, 1976, at 07:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, I arrived at Naval Air Station, Pensacola, Florida, for Aviation Officer Candidate School, AOCS, which Air Progress magazine at the time dubbed the Pensacola Pressure Cooker. I arrived with 34 other college graduates. We were affectionately welcomed by Staff Sergeant Little, United States Marine Corps, Staff Sergeant Penn, United States Marine Corps, Gunnery Sergeant Wickstrom, United States Marine Corps, and a host of other Marine drill instructors who seemed to appear out of nowhere, who were more than happy to enhance our welcoming experience, as only a Marine drill instructor can. If you know, you know. And here I am surrounded by all of them. Within 5 minutes, we were reduced to a gaggle of blithering idiots, not knowing up from down, right from left, or what the heck just happened to my life. God bless the Marine Corps. Thank God they're on our side. I wish I could tell you I was there for some noble, altruistic, patriotic reasons, but that would be a lie, because I wasn't. I was there for selfish ambition. I wanted to fly military jets. I wanted to fly off aircraft carriers. It was a lifelong dream, and it was about to begin. I should have known that service and selfish ambition are incompatible. I should have known, but I didn't. I had plenty of examples in my life. My dad flew 33 missions over Germany in a B-17 with the mighty 8th Air Force. His brother Edwin was a Marine on Iwo Jima. Their brother-in-law, my Uncle Miles, was wounded when his ship, the Wadsworth, took a direct hit from a kamikaze in the Battle of Okinawa. His injuries plagued him the rest of his life. And only 5 short years later, their younger brother, my Uncle John, was with the Marines at the Chosin Reservoir in Korea. I should have known, but I didn't. My eyes were blinded by selfish ambition. My 2 older brothers served. Patty, a Marine in Vietnam. Jimmy, whom many of you know as Father Jim from the Church of the Intercessor, was also a naval aviator. My father-in-law made 7 amphibious landings in the Pacific, beginning at Guadalcanal, returning home after 4 years of war with only he and 11 of the original 88 men he deployed with. I should have known, but my eyes were blinded by selfish ambition. Before that month of May was out, however, that would all change dramatically. While standing at attention with my class on the parade ground at the graduation of a senior class, my eyes were opened to the truth. When the national anthem played and those men swore before God and country to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, within my heart, it was as if I heard those words echoing down through the generations. The emotion that arose within me caused me to shiver up and down my spine and my eyes to fill with tears. Then, as vividly as I see you here today, in my mind's eye, I recall the memory of a visit to Arlington National Cemetery from my youth. I recall the solemnity and honor shown to the tomb of the unknown soldier, flanked all around by fields of green, studded beyond counting with identical, pristine white headstones. My selfish ambition seemed so shallow, so pitiful, so inconsequential compared to the shadow cast by these long deceased giants of liberty. It was then I realized I had something much more important to learn than just flying airplanes. I realized I was a part of something much bigger than myself, something sacred, a trust, a gift, supported and defended by generations before me, and given to us with a mandate to support, defend, and to hand on to those who come after us. A gift from God with unalienable rights and liberties enshrined in the Constitution. A covenant of freedom with God and country. From a biblical perspective, a covenant is sealed and ratified with the shedding of blood. This covenant of freedom has been ratified in the blood of those we honor today, who more than self, their country loved, and mercy more than life. I wish I could say my selfish ambition died that day, but that too would be a lie. I pushed the events and emotions of that day to the background of my life. They were just too heavy to handle. However, over the next 12 years, 6 active, 6 in the reserves, seriously painful events would remind me personally of the cost of this covenant of freedom. Even though I served during peacetime, 21 of my classmates, squadron mates, and friends lost their lives in service to our country. I still see their faces. I still hear their voices. I sat in the ready room across from their empty seat. I've been to too many memorials. I've been the casualty assistance officer who told the family their loved one wasn't coming home. I've wept with his widow. On one occasion, 17th of October, 1978, while performing night carrier qualifications, my best friend, Lieutenant J.G. Don Renshaw, crashed while attempting to trap aboard the pitching deck of USS America in heavy weather. As his aircraft careened across the deck, going over the side, Don ejected. The ejection, rather than being a means of escape, shot him directly into the ocean. And although we searched for hours, his body was never recovered. Earlier that day at lunch, he said to me, "Casey, I have to buy something for my son." That something was a box of Legos. I had the horrifying responsibility of giving his 3-year-old son, Matthew, those Legos. I can never again look at Legos as a child's toy, but rather as the final expression of a father's love, who just paid the ultimate price for his son's liberty. I'm not alone in this. Everyone who has ever donned the uniform of this country knows exactly what I'm saying. I'm only a brother in arms who, by the grace of God, is here today to tell you about it. The tie I'm wearing, and also the Grand Marshal, depicts the Marines raising the flag at Iwo Jima and B-17s of the 8th Air Force. I wear it to honor my dad and uncle, but more importantly, to honor my grandparents. You see, on the 26th of February, 1945, my dad's B-17 did not return from a mission to Berlin. Consequently, my grandparents would receive a telegram saying their son was missing in action. About a week later, they would again receive a telegram from the other side of the world, telling them another son had been wounded on Iwo Jima. Thankfully, they would both return home, and my grandparents' anguish was short-lived. However, what about the families of the countless sons and daughters who did not return, who died on some far-off battlefield, who are buried in some foreign land, whose whereabouts are known only to God, whose remains lie beneath those identical, pristine, white headstones, or those still to come home in a flag-draped coffin? For those families, Their anguish lasts a lifetime. They still suffer. They still sacrifice. They still pay the price. They still bear the burden of liberty's toll, often quietly and alone. And the consequences are generational. I honor and salute you today. America, as a voice for their now silent voices, I beg you, do not let your ambition blind you as it blinded me to the immensity of the gift bestowed on us by those who sacrificed all their tomorrows and all their ambitions in order that today we may pursue ours. Do not let this day become about beaches, barbecues, and baseball. Remember, America, God is calling. Remember and be faithful to the grace he shed on thee. The blood of our fallen cries out to us. Remember the sacrifices made and the price paid to give us this covenant of freedom. Preserve it, protect it, defend it as they did till their dying death. Pass it on to future generations as it was passed on to us. Remember the shed blood of those who gave the last full measure of devotion to secure the blessings of liberty for us and for our posterity. It was after the Civil War the nation determined to honor its war dead by decorating their graves. The first formal decoration day took place in Waterloo, New York on the 5th of May, 1866. This is the origin of what we now know as Memorial Day, and it has grown now to include all who died in the service of the country. It was in the midst of that same Civil War, the national nightmare which tested whether this covenant of freedom could long endure, that President Lincoln called the nation to prayer and fasting with the following proclamation, and I quote, "We have been the recipients of the choicest bounties of heaven. We have been preserved these many years in peace and prosperity. We have grown in numbers, wealth, and power as no other nation has ever grown. But we have forgotten God. We have forgotten the gracious hand which preserved us in peace, multiplied, enriched, and strengthened us. And we have vainly imagined in the deceitfulness of our hearts that all these blessings were produced by some superior wisdom and virtue of our own. Intoxicated with unbroken success, we have become too self-sufficient to feel the necessity of redeeming and preserving grace. Too proud to pray to the God who made us. It behooves us then to humble ourselves before the offended power, confess our national sin, and to pray for clemency and forgiveness." Unquote. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success is nobleness, and every gain divine. Eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon them. May they rest in peace. Amen.